Okay, let's start. This is lecture 23 for incident response technology class. So I will first finish the Metasploit attack slides. Then in the remaining time, I will introduce offline password cracking. We introduced online password cracking before. Online password cracking we introduced before the compromise because you don't need to compromise a remote target to do online password cracking. But for offline password cracking, that means once you compromise a target machine, you can download its password file into your own computer. Then you can use this offline password cracking to find out all the user account, their corresponding password. So that's the offline password cracking. Just remember, homework 4 is due this weekend. Don't delay it. So until now, I haven't received any question asking about homework 4 yet. So try to start early. If you have questions, then you can ask me or ask the TA. One student asked, can I use advanced Google search for the second question? Second question is about Google hacking. The answer is no. Well, you can use advanced Google hacking to help you find out what's the search phrase that you should use. Because advanced Google hacking make you can input information, then it will generate the search phrase for you and do the search. So you can actually see what's the search phrase generated by advanced Google search. So you can use that search phrase directly to do your own search. So basically, the answer is partially yes, partially no. When you give the answer, you need to give this what's the actual search phrase you have used. You cannot show a screenshot to show this is advanced Google search screenshot, and how do I do the search on that? So we should use search trace. I don't know what the student asked search trace. I don't know what is that. Okay, let me explain a little bit. If you use advanced Google search, if I do something like file type, for example, Excel, and search exact the phrase like ransomware compromise, then you can see this is the search result. But if you see this Google search window, you can see this is exactly the search phrase, the search keyword you should type in when you do this search directly. Like it gives you the file type, it gives you this exact phrase, so use quotation mark to put it on. So you can use advanced Google search to help you find what's the search string that you should use. But when you answer that question, you should give what is the search the string I have typed in the Google search to do this search requested by the question 2. Okay, let's come back to the Metasploit attack. So last time, in the end, I don't have that much time, so I quickly go through this drive-by download attack. Drive-by download attack, that means the Metasploit will set up a malicious web server. The malicious web server contains the attack module in it. Then when the vulnerable IE or vulnerable browser, other kind of browser, browse this malicious web server, the browser will be compromised and attacker will gain root access to the compromised machine. So last time we showed this MS-10 018. It is attacking a vulnerability in IE6 and IE7. And so there are two attack modules. So last time we showed the first attack module, but both are okay because both have this rank good. So you can try both. If you failed for one, you can try another one. Because they are good, so they are not excellent. So it is possible that sometime when you do the attack, it will not be successful. If that's the case, you can restart, try another attack module, or try the module again. So it will be successful. So maybe one time try you will fail, but if you try multiple times, you should be success. So you can use either one of these attack modules. And last time I showed this meter preter reverse TCP because that's the shell way. And here the attack module option, you need to set a lot of attack module options because this is you need to set up the malicious web server on the Kali Linux computer. So you need to set the SRA host, basically the malicious web server's IP address. You use the Kali Linux IP address to fill in this parameter. SRA port is a malicious web server's listening port. So the default is 8080. If your attacker's machine does not have a web server, then it's best you can set it as 80 because port 80 is a normal way for you to accept web traffic. It will not raise alarm to any security software. If you use a port 8080, any non-standard port, if you go through web traffic, it may raise alarm to the firewall or intrusion detection software. So of course, for the demonstration, you can still use this default port. It has already set. And another parameter, even though it's not required, like this URI path, this one is better you can set it. If you don't set it, the exploit will use a random string as the URI path. Basically, this is a string after the malicious web server's IP address. If you use a random string, then it may raise alarm to a victim. So you should set this as convincing, reasonable ASCII strings to make it to be believable to the victim. Even though it's not required, but it's better you set it. This is SSL certificate, custom certificate. This is more complicated. We haven't learned how you can set up a fake certificate and those kind of things. So we will not change this one. So the default way is HTTP connection. It's not HTTPS connection. Payload, because this is reverse TCP, meter preter reverse TCP. So you need to set local host, basically the Kali Linux IP address, and local port. What's the port you want the reverse connection to connect back to your Kali Linux machine? Basically, 4444, that means the Metasploit will set up socket listening on this 4444 port to listening to the incoming connection from this reverse TCP connection from the compromised computer. So as I mentioned in last class, it's better you can also change this default port because all the default configuration, they are tightly monitored by any security software. Because Metasploit has been widely used by attackers. So if you use it to do real attack, you should always change the default configuration. So here we set this SRA host for the Kali Linux IP address. The local host is Kali Linux IP address. And you can also set URI path. Oh, in the screenshot, I didn't set URI path. So it's a random string. So this is a random string. Then the next task for the attacker is basically generate phishing email and embed this URL in the phishing email sent to many potential victim users. If some of those users click this link, and if that user happen to have this vulnerable browser, then that user's computer will be compromised. So you can see that this is like a spread out bait into the big ocean, hoping that some of those bait will catch some vulnerable fish. So it's you send out spam email to tens of thousands of users, hoping that maybe 5% of those users click the link. Then among those users click the link, you hope that maybe 5% of them have the vulnerable browser, then their computer will be compromised. So this is so-called drive-by download. This is phishing. Okay, so last time we have showed this meter-preter. So let's show this attack again, but this time I will use a remote desktop. This is a meter-preter, and meter-preter for this one. Remember when you run exploit attack. When you run exploit attack, the web server is running in the background. So it's a malicious web server is always running. And whenever the attacker be compromised, it will show a meter-preter session is created. Then you can use these show sessions to show how many current connection has been developed on the Kali Linux. And then if you want to use any one of those sessions, you use this command sessions-i and the session ID to use that particular meter-preter session to have control to that particular compromised computer. So let's try this attack, but we use this remote desktop internet access. Let's start from scratch. MSF console. MS-10-018. MS-10-018. So I remember in last class, I demonstrated the first one. So let me demonstrate the second one. The second attack is basically the screenshot I showed on the slide. You can see the default payload is meter-preter reverse TCP, but I want to use a remote desktop payload. So show payloads. I think it has remote desktop. Yes, you can see this one. Windows VNC inject reverse TCP. So this is a remote desktop using reverse TCP connection. So we will use that. Set payload. Okay, then try to see what options we need to set. So this is the option for the remote desktop. This is option for the attack module. So first, I want to find what is my Kali Linux IP address. My Kali Linux IP address is 2.4. And so I set srv host 10.0.2.4 and set srv port. Suppose I still use port 80 because this will create less alarm to any security software. Of course, if your Kali Linux is running a web server, then you cannot set it as port 80 anymore. Set port and set URI path. Remember this URI path? This URI used for the attack default is random, so I don't want to make it random. Suppose I use this news, don't raise alarm to victim. And then this we set parameter for the payload. Remote desktop, it already set localhost, local port. If you want, you can change both the local port and you can also change the VNC port. VNC is remote desktop port. But if you don't want to change, then that's fine. Another important parameter is the view only, whether you want this remote desktop to be able to control the remote machine or just view the remote machine. So let's just view only. Let's still to be able to control the remote machine. Then we can check the options again to verify all the parameters are set correctly. This URI path, the SRV port, local host, local port, view only false. Okay, so that's finished the option. Then we can do the exploit. This is an exploit. You can see it only set up the server. So the server is running in the background. This is the URL path you need to trick a victim to connect. Because here the port is 80, so you don't need to put port 80 in the URL path anymore. You can just directly use HTTP IP address and news for that. So if you open the IE and HTTP 10.0.2.4. Well, my display is not that clear. Okay, this is clear. And news. Remember here the URL is this 10.0.2.4. 80 because 80 is the default port, so we don't need to put port number here. If you use non-default port, then you should put port number in the URL path. And if the victim, I move it here because you can see both the Windows screen and also the Kali Linux, this Metasploit screen. So you can see the Metasploit screen will show which IP address has connected to it and whether the compromise is successful or not. In the Windows XP, the behavior will be this one is a crash, so nothing happened here. So basically, this part the IE is crashed, and you can see in Kali Linux, this in the background you can see that this VNC server session 1 opened. So this is a tight VNC. So we actually have the control. And if you move this control panel, and if you go back to see the Windows, you can see this control panel is opening up. And this is Windows. This is the So you can see that I can actually control this remote machine. Okay, so if I want to take back, I can just, let me just restart the remote machine. Okay, because I restart remote machine, so the VNC server, this one is closed. If you show session, you will not see any session anymore because that session has been closed. So basically, it showed no active session. Windows XP is restarting because of the attack action. Okay, so this is MS-10.0.18. There's another drive-by download vulnerability is MS-10.0.46 still. So it was still discovered in the same year, 2010. It's also a critical vulnerability for Internet Explorer. If we search it, MS-10.0.46. So you can see that it has 4 attack modules, and all of them are excellent. So there are 4 different kinds of attack method. Attacker put them into this attack module. All of them have excellent ranking. So you will definitely be successful using any one of them. So you can use any one of them. So let me see. In the screenshot, I used this shortcut. So in the demonstration, let me use another one. Actually, there are 2 attack modules. This is MS-10.0.46, MS-10.0.46. The other 2 is MS-15.0.20, MS-15.0.20. So they are not about MS-10. So there are 2 attack modules. This one I used 46 shortcut icon DLL loader. So I will use another one. This one used the browser one. So I will use this SMB one. The default payload is the meter printer. So let's just use the default payload. Let's set SRV host 10.0.2.4. This part you cannot change it because this is for SMB. Basically, it's a file sharing system, and this is that file sharing system port, so you cannot change this one. And the local port is already set, so let's verify everything is set. So let's try exploit. I didn't change the local port, but after the previous attack, when I set up malicious web server, I haven't accessed the Metasploit yet. So that malicious web server is still running in the default port 4444. So when this one tried to run, it said the address is already in use, this 4444 for the meter creator. Remember in the previous attack when I demonstrate, I use the default port. So I need to use another port, set L port, like 4445. Because this original 4444 is used for the previous attack. We didn't exit Metasploit. So all these background process, they are not cleaned yet, so they're still running. And for this new attack, we need to set a different listening port. Well, this one attack is not a URL, so it may not be a problem. Okay. I think that's the reason I didn't show it in the slide. This one is a SMB, is a remote file sharing, so it needs the Windows to actually put it in the not only the IP address but this one. I haven't done this attack yet. How do I use this SMB attack? How do I put this in the URL? The link file must be sent or shared with the target. So this attack is a little bit different. So when I exit the Metasploit, you can see there are two servers stopped. So this is one malicious web server I created. Another server is for the previous attack, 0.10.0.18 attack. I want to make a fresh start, so I exit MSF console. So, so it means this SMB, this attack is a little bit tricky to use. It's not the normal URL with the IP address and the path anymore. So we will still try this browser-based attack. We will try this browser-based attack. It's already set SR report is 80, so we don't need to change it. URI to use, it said do not change. So probably we should not change the URI path because it said you should not change it. And L host L port. So let's change L port. Make it not the default one. So you can show option. It has been set. Then we can do the create the malicious web server. This URL is actually very simple. It's just the IP address and port number. If the port number is 80, then you don't need any port number anymore. So let's just HTTP 10.0.2.4. Just the IP address is fine because there is no URI path. And also the port number is 80, so you don't need to type in port number. So this URL will be harder for a victim to find out this is suspicious. So let's have return. And you can see that in Kali Linux, this meter session 1 opened. In Windows, the symptom is basically the IE suddenly looks like not like IE anymore. It looks like a file explorer. So everything here you look, it looks like a file explorer. All this file and this file, but actually it's still Internet Explorer. But the symptom, it looks exactly like that. So if you here show sessions, you can see one session created. You can use this session /I. And so you can see this is a compromised Windows XP. But for this attack, there is one issue. So this IE is crashed, right? So if attacker close this IE, because IE is crashed, so normal user will just shut down this crashed program. Let me see if this is still going on. Well, I think this connection is still going on. Okay, it may be another drive-by download. So for this drive-by download, it's fine if the crashed IE is closed by a user. This meter preter session is still connected. So attacker can still run all the command. This hash dump is basically dump the password file. So which will be used for the offline password cracking in the next slide. So this is MS-10.018. Another one is MS-10.002. It's a drive-by download. It has 2 attack module. If you search it, it has 2 attack modules. Their rank is normal, so their success rate is not that good. So you probably need to try multiple times to make it successful. Default payload is a meter preter reverse TCP, and when you create, and this one you can also set URI path, so you don't need to make it as a random string anymore. Then this session is open. So this is the last one I will demonstrate for Windows XP. Maybe I can quickly demonstrate this one. Meter preter shell is very simple to create. Let me show MS-10.0.0. No. MS-10. Oh, it's a subscribe. Oh shoot! It's I should use search. So these are 2 normal. Use one of them. Suppose we just set URI path. I will not change SRV port as 80 anymore because port 80 is used by the previous malicious web server. It's still running on my Kali Linux, so I will not change. Oh, I will not change that. Set URI path like. Set L port 555. Okay, do the exploit. This is a URL that you should let the victim to try. Because this is non-standard port, so in the URL, you need to provide the port number 8080. You can see here in the Kali Linux, this meter preter session 2 is open. And we can use this session is a session 2, so you need a sessions-i2 to use this one. And so you can see it's compromised. And in the Windows X part, it just looks like this IE is crashed. So if if the victim close IE, Then you can see what happened in the Kali Linux. This meter predator session 2 is closed. So this attack, even though attacker can get remote access, but this remote access is limited. If the victim close a crash IE, this remote connection will also be closed. So I think this is one of the reasons why this attack module rank is normal. So normal, sometimes it means that the success rate is low, but for this particular attack, normal also means this attacker's ability will be limited because attacker can only run meter predator shell when the victim has not closed a crashed IE. So if the remote victim user close the crashed IE, this attacker's control will be lost. So I think that's one of the reasons why this attack module is ranked as normal, because attacker's ability will be limited. You can see this meter predator session 2 closed. Reason is died. So when you close the IE, this all the payload will also be closed. Okay, so that's all the demonstration for the attack to Windows XP. There are many other attacks to Windows XP as well. So you can do Google search, like search YouTube, Metasploit attack Windows XP. You can see a lot of videos to show all kinds of attack. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is offline password cracking. Oh, any questions so far for the Metasploit attack? Have you tried it on your own computer? Have you tried? Not yet. Have you tried? Not yet. But have you installed the Windows XP virtual machine? So it's okay, right? Okay. Oh, one word, because it's close to the end of the semester, so we only have a few class left. Because right next week will be Thanksgiving, so only one class next week. After that is just 1 or 2 class, then we will go to the final exam. So final exam, I put it here because this is a school decide time. They don't want class to arbitrarily change the test time. So final exam will be exactly the same format as the midterm exam, just to release a question, and on 10 a.m. in the morning, then due next day midnight. So you have 2 night time to do for this one. And the final exam will be covering all the questions after the homework 3. So basically, this online password cracking, Metasploit attack, offline password cracking, just all the questions that we haven't tested up to homework. Oh no, up to homework 4. So because homework 4 covered reconnaissance and some part of the scanning. So final exam will mainly cover this Metasploit attack, online password cracking, offline password cracking stuff. And of course, next week lecture will also about Metasploit attack, but using another software too. So that one will also be covered by the final exam. So final exam is just you can think that it's like the final homework, covering whatever we haven't covered by the first 4 homework. So that means that you need to make sure everything works for you before December 6th. Otherwise, if you at that time you try to install Windows XP, try Metasploit, if it's not successful, then there is no excuse that you can delay because, well, I cannot install Windows XP on my virtual machine, or these two machines, they cannot talk to each other. You have to solve that before the final exam time. Okay, let's move on to this offline password cracking. In online password cracking, we introduced that this is very simple because online password cracking doesn't need attacker to have any skill. It doesn't need the victim to have any vulnerability. It just needs the victim to accept user login attempt. So the victim can be like a bank web server, a credit card online server. So attacker can do attack to all these targets. No matter how strong security those online portal is, they are still potentially vulnerable to password cracking attack. Of course, online password cracking has big disadvantage. First, it generates clear abnormal traffic. So if you try a particular user bank account many times, then the bank system will clearly know that someone is trying to guess the password for a particular user. So maybe the bank will call that particular user to make the user aware that, well, someone is trying password attacking to your account. And maybe the bank will do some other measurement. For example, can temporarily lock the account. But usually banks do not do that because if you temporarily lock account, it will create another type of denial service to that legitimate user. Because if you lock the account, legitimate user will not be able to log into their account anymore. But usually the bank measurement is that they can slow down your login speed. So basically, they will give you a message saying that you have tried 3 failed password. You can only try logging again after maybe 15 minutes or after 30 minutes. So you can only log in a much slower speed. So that is a very effective way to deal with password guessing attack. So that's a normal way for any system to deal with online password guessing attack. Just to slow down the login speed, you cannot block that account because that will create denial service attack to the real user. And the disadvantage is the first, it generates clear abnormal traffic. So a second disadvantage is that because this password guessing speed is slow, so only if you have some good mind what's the potential candidate password for that particular user, then it's very hard for you to find the password. On the other hand, offline password cracking is that after attacker have compromised the system, attacker download the password file, then they can use these tools to find out the password for all the user account in this password file. And the disadvantage is very clear that you first need to get a password file, which means you first need to compromise the remote server first. So that's a very big task for many attackers. But once you do that, whatever left is very simple because you can compromise, you can guess the password for maybe 10, 20, or even 100 users, as long as all those users have the account on that particular server. Secondly, you can try a password much faster. You can try maybe tens of second password in each second. So that is how fast you can try password for this offline password cracking. So once a password file is downloaded by attacker, as a security administrator, you should assume that all the users' password is compromised because attacker can try tens of millions of passwords on those user accounts. And sooner or later, they can find the password for all those users. So one question many students will ask, you already have the root privilege on the compromised machine. Why do you still need to use offline password cracking? Because when you get the root privilege, you still don't know the user's login password. You get the root privilege because you compromise some software's vulnerability. But password is much more useful than that particular one machine because the password file, first, it contains many users' accounts. So you can get password for many users instead of just one user. Secondly, many users, they reuse the same password for most of their business accounts. Maybe they use different password for their personal life account and business account. But for their business account, they usually use the same password. And so attacker can use this guest password and try to log in to different target in the target company. So that's why attackers still want to do this offline password cracking. And remember, when attacker try to compromise a company, they may not do it in one step. They may first compromise an easy target first. Then they try to get a password. Then they use this password and account username to log in to some more sophisticated server. Maybe those servers, they don't have any vulnerability, so attacker cannot compromise them. But attacker can use a real password and username to log into that more critical server. Okay, so to demonstrate this attack, we first need to set up an account that has a weak password. Let me see. So this Windows XP, I haven't created any account yet. So you can create a new account like user one. And you can create a password. So let's see what I try, like password is secret. So we create this one, and we can create another new account, like user two. So we create this one. Of course, we need to create a password that is in the dictionary list. Otherwise, you cannot find it. This is night. Okay, so these two has been created. And the default IE user for those Windows VM is this password, W0RD exclamation sign. But actually, all these passwords are vulnerable because they are in the dictionary list. So first, we need to compromise the remote machine. The most simple compromise is MS, the first one. What's the first one? The direct compromise is the simple one to demonstrate because is MS8067. So let's try that. because this is a grid. So, and it's also a direct compromise. So it's not like you set up malicious web server, those kind of stuff. It's a meter preter shell. It's fine. So our host, this is direct compromise. So we need to know Windows XP's IP address. 2.6. So that's the Windows XP's IP address. I don't change other parameters, so let's just directly do this attack. So meter preter session created, it's compromised, it's in the Windows XP. So I use meter preter shell because meter preter shell has the command to grab the password file from the Windows, compromised Windows. That command is called hash dump. Because all the password in the dictionary, in the operating system, they are not saved in plain text. They are actually saved as the hash value of that password. So no password will be saved in its original form in the computer. They all saved in the computer operating system by the operating system in the hash value. So that's why attackers still need to do offline password cracking because they cannot see the password. What they see, this hash dump, is this hash value. So basically, these are the hash value for the password. For this is 1004 is like a user ID. This is a user 1, user 2, and IE user, and guest and administrators. So some account, they are system account, so they are not useful. So first, we need to copy this hash file into a text file before we do the attack. So right now is the root. So let's first create okay, we create a WinXP hash file. So we first copy this thing into this text file. Then to remove any user account that is not the actual user, because like this support, this is a user account, but actually this one you cannot use it to log in. So there is no need for you to find out what's the password for this account. So I will just remove this line. In Kali Linux Pico editor, you can use Control-K to remove a line. So I will just keep IE user and the guest, again, guest is not enabled, so you cannot use it to log in. So there's no need to find out its password. So we want to crack the password for these 3 accounts, the IE user and user 1, user 2. So we keep these 3 lines in this text file.
Dr. Zhou?
Yes.
What options did you change for that exploit?
What?
For that payload, what options did you set? You set the R hosts to the Windows XP machine, but what else did you set?
Oh, yeah. I use, okay, so it's all here. Remember, I use this MS08067. So this is the direct compromise. And when I use this module, it's that default payload is meter preter. So I don't need to set payload anymore. I just use the default payload. I use show option. So these are the options for the attack module. These are options for the payload, for the meter preter. These already set, so we don't need set parameter. And here is required parameter R hosts, basically target IP address. So we need to put Windows XP's IP address in this parameter. And then I check my Windows XP, what's the IP address for my Windows XP? My Windows XP's IP address is 10.0.2.6. So that's why I set this R hosts with this Windows XP's IP address. So that's basically our host is a remote target IP address. So for that one, you need to set it to be equal to the Windows XP's IP address. Basically the target you want to compromise. Any question? I didn't change any other parameter. So actually you can change L port to make it less obvious to change to some other local port. This port, you cannot change it because this is attacking target port. So you cannot change that port. And the command to get the hash value for all the password is the hash dump in meter per liter. So when I show it out, I copy it into this text file. I just keep this 3 user accounts that I want to compromise. I want to crack their password.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions so far? Okay, so this is a screenshot just to show, well, in the screenshot, I use this attack. It's a drive-by download but still use meter per liter because we need to use hash dump to get the hash value. So the payload, we still need to use meter per liter for hash dump. Then copy and paste the hash text file into a text file. And then you remove unrelated line of account. You only keep the account that you want to crack password. Otherwise, those unrelated accounts will slow down your password guessing speed because in offline password cracking, it will try every user account, try to see whether the hash value match with the guessed password. So you should remove unrelated one to speed up your password guessing speed. The program we will use is called John the Ripper. Also, it's a very popular offline password cracking software. It has the nickname King of Password Cracker. And actually, this is a very simple program. It's very short, very small program. Because this program is a very simple one. This is a basic logical for the program. Basically, it has an infinite loop. It's a while loop. While the password not found, it gets a plain text password. Usually, it just means it picks the next password in the dictionary list because when you run this offline password cracking, you supply a dictionary list. Then generate its hash value. You use the same hashing algorithm as the operating system to generate hash value. Different operating systems, they have their own hashing algorithm, but hashing algorithm is pretty known for everyone. So attacker can, based on the hash format, to figure out, well, this hash is generated by Windows. So it will use this Windows hash algorithm to generate hash value. Then check if the hash value exists in this password hash file. So check the hash value for a particular password, whether it matches with any of this hash value in this hash dictionary list. If it matches, then you find a password for a particular account. If it not match, you just go back to pick another plain text password, generate hash. So this is a very small program, and it's very fast because generate hash value very fast. Hashing algorithm, a feature of hashing algorithm is that it takes very small computation resource to generate hash value. And it's a very simple small loop. That's why for offline password cracking, it can check tens of thousands of passwords every second. Of course, it depends on the computer power, but for any shabby computer, you can try thousands of computers in every second. So you can test millions of passwords in very, very short time. So when you use the offline password cracking, you can supply with a very, very big dictionary list to do it. John is already built into Kali Linux. The program name is called John, so you can directly use it. Here, I have explained that you only keep the line that you want to find the password. Oh shoot, I should keep the guest line. So let me do it again. The guest line. So basically, we have 4 accounts that we want to find out their corresponding password. The program used is very simple, just John the password, because if you don't supply the dictionary list, it will use its default dictionary list. The default dictionary list is that John password.lst file. This is a small password. It only have 10,000, maybe 20,000 password. So it's a small password file. If you want to supply with another password, then you should put that in option. So let's try it. So we just use the default dictionary list. You can see that it's finished in a second. It finished. It finds out the password, like a test account. The password is empty. Okay. And the user 2, the password is night. It finds out. User 1, its password is also find out. Secret. Okay, someone forgot to turn off the microphone.
అందుకే ఈరోజు బాత్రూంలో కదా పోయింది నువ్వు స్టెప్స్ లో వేసుక పాస్ వేసుకోపోతే నీకు లేదు ఇంకా పో ఇంకా చాక్లెట్ లేదు ఏమీ లేదు
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure if you already answered this, but how do you know okay, the question is how does John know what's a hashing algorithm to use? Because the hash value and this format is different for Windows and Linux. So John just check this text and know that this is Windows hash. Yeah, so basically for Windows, this account and the user ID and hash value, because here it seems to have 2 parts. For Linux, it's different. This format is different. So it's very easy for the program to find out this is a Linux hash, this is Windows hash. Yeah. I'm not sure why the IE user this password is empty. So I think for Windows XP this password is empty. Let me try. Yes, this IE, for this particular version of the IE, the password is empty because when I click that, it's entered directly. So the guest account is empty. The IE user also is empty. So basically, there is no password here. And it can find out very, very quickly. Even if you change to some more difficult password, as long as it is in the dictionary list, then you can still find it. So maybe we should use a bigger password like that, ROCU. Remember in the online password cracking, the last slide, I introduced that. Let me show. In the online password cracking, I explained that there is a bigger dictionary list, is the ROCU. ROCU has several millions of passwords. So if you really use John to do any password cracking, you should use this bigger dictionary list to do the password cracking. Sometimes it may break a password, an account password into two parts. Like this particular one, it showed IE user 1, IE user 2. It just means that the password is break into 2 hash values by the operating system. For the first part is this one. Second part is this 1 character D. So that sometimes this is also the case. And an account password may have been split into 2 parts. If that's the case, then this it will treat this 2 parts hash value as two different passwords. So it will find it out separately. Once the password is cracked, it will be saved into john.port file under this hidden directory .john. So you can use because once it finds out the hash value and the password, it will save it. So later on, if you want to do cracking, it doesn't need to crack for that particular hash value anymore. It has already done that. So in the root directory, you cannot see that is a hidden directory. If you use ls-a, you can see this is a .john folder. So this is created by the John, this password cracking program. If you go to this folder, you can see this this log file. So you can see that even for this password cracking program, it also has a log file. So for many software, they have their own log somewhere in their installation directory. This log file just keeps recording when you have tried it, what password has been found. And if you show this one, it will show that it will show what password and its corresponding hash value has been found. So this is a password. This is the corresponding hash value has been found. And, so later on, it doesn't need to do this cracking anymore, because if I do this, if I do the cracking again, it just says that no password hash left to crack, because all of them have already been found and saved in that saved password file. Of course, if you want to redo it, re-show this cracking process, you can remove this john.port. Then when you rerun the John, it will start from beginning again, because it doesn't have any saved password and hash value. So you can remove remove that program, and if you rerun the John, then it will restart the cracking. I only have a few slides left. So this is for Linux password. I will demonstrate because I don't have enough time to finish them in the 4 minutes. So I will finish them quickly in next class. Okay. Any questions so far for this part? Remember, well, if you want to use John with a dictionary, you can you can find its command line. It's John option is you can supply the word list. Use this -- word list to provide another dictionary list, like raw Q. You can supply here. Okay, any question?
So there's no class next week, Wednesday? Is that what you said?
I think next Wednesday is a holiday, right? Yeah, because next Thursday is Thanksgiving, so school closed from Wednesday. So next week we will only have Monday's class.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, that's all for today's class, and see you this Wednesday.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.